24 hours later, there is still confusion over the sensational killing of controversial liquor baron Ponty Chadha, who died in a hail of bullets in a gunfight with his brother Hardeep. NDTV's Tanima Biswas sifts through the claims and counterclaims to reconstruct the shooting that has sent shockwaves across North India.
This is the Land Cruiser in which Ponty Chadha, along with his friend who is Uttarakhand Minorities Commission head, who was present at the farmhouse yesterday. They were in this Land Cruiser when Ponty's brother Hardeep reached the spot. What had happened was that property has been a disputed property of the brothers for quite some time, and yesterday Ponty Chadha apparently directed his men to paint Hardeep's name in black, which was on a board at the farmhouse. Hardeep came to know about this and rushed to the spot, and as soon as he reached, he saw the Land Cruiser. He first, of course, attacked one of Ponty Chadha's aide, Narendra, who he found at the gates. He shot at him first, and then he saw the Land Cruiser in which Ponty Chadha was sitting yesterday. This is the Land Cruiser. You can see this was one of the bullet holes made on the car by Hardeep's gun, and then he moved towards this side of the car where he shot at Ponty Chadha, who did not have any of his security staff around him at that time. In fact, there was his friend Sukhdev also had his PSO with him from Uttarakhand police, and after shooting at Ponty Chadha, Hardeep continued firing indiscriminately. And looking at that situation, Sukhdev's PSO fired in retaliation in defense, and his bullets were the ones which hit Hardeep, and later we know he succumbed to his injuries. Sachin Tyagi is the name of the PSO that police have in fact detained him and questioned him and got his statement so far. But the question is whether the police are going to arrest him or not, because the PSO maintains that he fired only in defense. With camera person Arun Negi in Delhi, Tanima Biswas for NDTV.
So more details emerging of that sensational shootout, and also the fact that it was actually a personal security officer who is a police constable rank official who actually shot and killed Ponty Chadha's brother. But let's now go live to Tanima Biswas, who's been tracking that story, and in fact was reporting earlier, Tanima, that there was even tension during the cremation of both these brothers that was meant to happen together, but in fact that had to be interrupted because Ponty Chadha had to be taken for a second post-mortem.
That's right, Srinivasan. It was a bizarre turn of events that happened over the past few hours. What we know is that the police had been telling us that the doctors at AIIMS had apparently claimed, they were initially informed that there were 4 bullets lodged inside Ponty Chadha's body, because the police had told them that there were no exit wounds corresponding to those injuries. So they knew that those 4 bullets were inside, but the doctors claimed apparently that they could not take out 3 of those bullets. They only managed to take out 1 in the 4 hours of autopsy that was conducted on Ponty Chadha's body. So they handed over the body to the police and family members who were standing outside AIIMS at that time, given the fact that they would not be able, they claimed that they would not be able to take those bullets out. But midway, some of the senior police officials came to know of this fact, and they thought that it would be best to not leave any stone unturned, and to carry out as much that they could to complete the process, so to speak, so that there is no counter allegation from any of the family members later on that the job was not completed by the police or AIIMS staff from their part, which is why the body was again sent back. There was some convincing that the police officials had to do. They had to convince the family members to send it back, because they were adamant that both bodies, both Ponty Chadha and Hardeep Chadha's bodies, should be cremated together. So both bodies were sent back to AIIMS. Another hour was spent on conducting the second post-mortem on Ponty Chadha's body. They managed to take out those 3 bullets, and then those bodies were sent back to the crematorium.
Okay. Tanima, thanks very much indeed. So clearly the dramatic sequence of events surrounding this particular shootout not ending even with the cremation, even that led to some amount of confusion and scenes of tension outside the hospital. But now that post-mortem, as Tanima reports, has been completed, as has the cremation. Thanks very much indeed for joining us, Tanima. Joining us to debate and try to understand more of this extremely volatile and unfolding story is Gaurav Kant. He's the lawyer for Hardeep Chadha, Ponty Chadha's brother. Thanks very much for joining us. And joining me from Lucknow is Sharad Pradhan, veteran journalist. Thanks so much also for being on the show. We did have a representative from Mr. Ponty Chadha's wave company, but he backed out at the last minute, and therefore he's unable to be with us. But can I just ask you first, sir, that based on the police version at least of the events that we just put on air, it seems that it was your client who actually fired the first shot. Is that something which you accept?
Well, it is very difficult to comment on the police investigation since I'm not there at the scene of crime. So, but it is a very difficult thing for me to answer that who really shot first. So I would let it rest on the police to actually investigate and come up with the truth.
But clearly this seems to be an extremely disturbing and shocking incident which has happened. Now, the root cause of it is that these two brothers were fighting over property, that after the father passed away, the entire empire had not been divided, and that was the core of the dispute?
Well, yes, after their father's demise, there were some bickering in the family as far as the properties were concerned. And both the brothers were trying to settle it, and both wanted to run their own businesses in their own way. And there were negotiations which were going on between both the brothers, and they were trying to settle it. Yes, definitely it's a very tragic incident, and what really triggered and what really happened, because if you see, there's nothing of that sort earlier on.
There's not been any such prior incident of any threats or intimidation or potential violence between the brothers?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, there is not even a single complaint or any sort of fight between the brothers, anything of that nature or that sort.
But one thing which is surprising in all this is the fact that both these brothers seem to be moving around with a lot of armed escort, both private security guards as well as PSOs supplied by the police. This is extremely unusual, isn't it? I mean, and what was the reason for that? What were the threats that they were fearing, that they had so many gunmen with them?
Well, honestly, I mean, that's my personal opinion, but I feel anybody who's in a trade like this, in a business like this,
in the liquor business,
do need to have some sort of a security and some sort of and they were very powerful and very successful businessmen. So I think they both, and I think the entire family, feared some sort of a untoward incident in their life. So I think this has been going on for quite some time. It's not.
So they've had these armed escorts for a long time.
Yes.
No one would imagine they would actually use it against each other. Sharath, if I can just bring you in, absolutely sensational shootout ending the career of somebody and the life of somebody who's been in the headlines for a very long time, particularly in Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh where you are. Ponty Chadha has sparked controversy for the liquor contracts that he got in Uttar Pradesh. Many believed largesse of the Mayawati government, that continuing with the current dispensation. What do you make of all that has happened?
Well, absolutely. The way, if you look at the rags to riches story of Ponty Chadha, he made his billions only by the most unscrupulous means, and he is not entirely to blame. It is the politicians, successive political leaders of the state who who were the head of governance, have been obliging him in return of money, illegal money. And Ponty Chadha, whose father used to sell fried fish in a place in Ramnagar, where from there they hail, eventually rose to make an empire of some 30,000-40,000 crores.
Right.
And it was not only Mayawati. Prior to that, he was a Mulayam man, and once again he's become a Mulayam man. There were allegations that Mayawati's brother had become his partner in the real estate business that he got as a largesse from Mayawati.
Right.
In fact, the liquor trade, it was not just liquor contract, it was monopolizing the entire liquor trade in Uttar Pradesh.
Okay.
And several other North Indian states.
Okay.
The way he could manipulate the law of the land,
yes,
the way he could twist rules to his advantage, speaks of the kind of clout he enjoyed.
Right, and of course all
the politicians were at his beck and
all that has come to naught. Can I just ask you, sir, what happens now to the entire estate? How is it going to be divided? Who is going to manage it? Have you already swung into action on that front?
Not really. I think after this tragic incident,
Yes.
I think I just hope that the family comes to a settlement and there's an understanding between the family and...
Is there any legal action that either side is contemplating against each other on the basis of what has happened?
No.
Because after all, there have been 2 murders committed, 2 people have died.
Correct, but as far as the legal action is concerned, I think the family is yet to come out of this shock, and I think it's tragic for both. and there is nothing of that sort which is.
But did your client resent the fact that Ponty was largely controlling the empire, and was he sort of more or less in charge of the show? Because one never really heard of your client until this entire incident.
Not really. I think my client in his own right was a very successful businessman, and I think it was more to do with the ancestral property and the properties which were jointly held, and the companies, and movable as well as immovable.
And that was the real problem.
Yes.
Very quickly, Sharad, what do you think is now going to happen to the Ponty Chadha empire? We have very little time left.
Well, I'm sure apart from the dispute between the two brothers, the families of the two brothers, there must be, I am sure, a lot of political leaders of Uttar Pradesh and Uttarakhand and Punjab have their stakes in the Ponty Chadha empire, and a lot of skeletons could come out of the cupboard if an independent probe is conducted by some agency like CBI. I'm sure there would be a lot of skeletons will come out of the cupboard.
Okay,
and not many politicians will.
Okay. Well, that might, if that happens, that will certainly keep you busy. But as you said, right now the family just digesting the shock of what has happened. Thanks very much indeed for joining us, Sharad. Thank you so much for joining me.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app. Fully optimized for retina display. Full screen view. Faster response time. And Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.